Welcome everybody to the October version of the second Tuesday Hypnosis Group. I'm glad you are all here. It's a wonderful thing to see so many wonderful people. Everybody here is going to be at the conference, correct?
I haven't registered yet.
Oh, well, there's lots of time. It's not till the end of the week anyway.
I'll be
So,
there.
but definitely come to the conference. There's a lot of good stuff going on and a lot of good people from all over the world will be there. So it's really pretty special. But let's go ahead and get started with Larry Garrett. Everybody knows Larry Garrett. He's been kind of the father of hypnosis for many, many years, and he's going to talk about the power of the mind. He knows more about the mind than most people. And I'm going to stop talking so we stop echoing. But thank you so much for coming. And Larry, take it away. Thank you.
Okay. I'm so excited. I can't hold still. Greetings to you, and wherever you are, I'm here with you tonight. That's for sure. And I say wherever you are because I do know that we have a friend from Italy, a friend from South Africa, a friend from France, and all over the country. I'm excited. I'm excited with everybody that's here and the people who are joining us. And I see many names from my past. You know, I have an interesting past. But allow me to introduce you to what we're going to do. I thought of a topic. You know, David invited me last year. I was unable to make it last year, but I'm here tonight. So Don Hood and David invited me for tonight. And every year for about 35 years, Tuesday of October, they would have me come and visit you to tell you how great the hypnosis conference is going to be this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Was that a plug or what, David? Huh? Was that good? That was a good. Ooh, that segued right in. But that was really the issue. The issue was, let's draw some people, and we'll get some people here. And you know, I am honored. I sound sometimes a little egotistical because I'm sure of myself and I'm confident and I'm saying like it is, but I think of a great phrase and it says it's not arrogance when it's true. And tonight I would like to teach you that same confidence, that same sureness, that same incredible direction, the power of your mind. The power, this is about your mind, not mine. I'm pretty familiar with mine. That better be by now. So this is about your mind. And I'm going to share with you the best I can. And I want you to get more involved with what I'm going to share with you tonight. And you'll have to excuse me if I pick up a couple of notes here and there, but the notes are just nothing more than to not forget what I'm going to share with you. I often like to use a phrase that says, we go to school to learn how to know something. And we'll read a book to have knowledge. But how do we learn how to feel something, and how do we take the wisdom we have accumulated through our lives and use it effectively to this moment? Just recently I heard the phrase in the story that all of you know, and that is about walking down the sidewalk and you fall in a hole. You know, how many times are you going to fall in that hole before you take a different street? And so that's our goal tonight, is take a different street. So I'm going to teach you how to feel this inner power of your mind. And this is not an easy task. I mean, imagine, if you will, it's like teaching you how to ride a bicycle. And they say, okay, this is easy. You just hold the handlebars and the handle grips, and you put your feet on the pedals, and you start pedaling. Not enough. What's missing? By the way, I want to involve you as we move along. If you have questions or comments or debates, please hold up your hand and challenge me or ask me that question or comment. And if I don't see you right away, it's because I've got a screen here full of people right now. So I've got 34 of you sitting here looking at me, but I can't look at all of you at the same time. So I even see a friend from Japan. Hold up your hand so everybody can see you. Did you get that book yet?
Not yet, but I sent you a care package right now.
It's on its way to you. Thank you for being here. What is it,
Thank
8
you.
o'clock in the morning in Japan?
It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
10 o'clock in the morning. Boy, tell me, Dodd, aren't you impressed with that one? If we would have had this Zoom in the morning, it would have been 3 o'clock in the morning for her, and she wouldn't be able to be here. So thank you. Okay, so to continue, so we get on this bike and we start pedaling, but unless we learn balance, we're going to fall on our butts. And when we fall on our butts, we're going to say, well, you told me to pedal it and hold the handle grips. So the skill of teaching somebody how to experience or feel, to me, is a deep feeling. It's like teaching Jack. You hear him growling there. He just heard somebody out there teaching him how to shut up when I'm on Zoom. And so anyway, I'm going to teach you how to ride this bike, metaphorically speaking. And it's all about you feeling what we're going to be speaking of. As we move along, remember to just hold up your hand and move with me. Let's begin with the words of your mind, not your body yet, your mind, because the issue is that we want to work with the mind. Some of us might be challenged right now in a certain situation of life, and maybe your body's not feeling as good as you'd like it to, and I'd like to have that. Oh, 1 second here. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry, I just wanted to not forget one thing there. So we might be challenged in some physical way, and I wish you not to think that we're neglecting that. David and I kind of spoke of this briefly. I choose not to use negative words in my life and vocabulary, and that's going to be part of your mind, is to learn to change your language on a daily basis. And when David and I chatted about this, I had brought up the issue of the physical challenges that some of you might be in. Some of you might be dying right now, or old, or immobile, but you still have power in your mind. The mind has this limitless power that I could experience, that I could feel. It's this kind of power that nobody could stop except you. We watched a great movie last night, or the other night, called The Ride. If any of you have an opportunity to observe this movie. It started out a little uncomfortable. I don't like this kind of movie, and it was about this young boy, and he had gotten himself in trouble, and the trouble he got himself into, let me hide this thing, trouble he got himself into was not very good, and here he goes to jail, and he looks like he's about 8 or 10 years old, and he's a tough kid, and nobody's going to hurt him. And I won't tell you about the movie because I want you to watch it, but he used one great phrase in that. He said, if I see it, I could do it. I like that. If I see it, I could do it. That's you. If you see it, you could do it. You could do anything. I have learned my life by observing. I remember when I first learned how to dance many years ago. Some of you know Diana Barrara. She might be on tonight. She wasn't feeling too good, but she's had a big loss in her life. And she hypnotized me a few times to learn how to dance. And I remember her words well. This has to be 30 years ago or better. And her words were, watch the other dancers that are real good and feel in your body what they're doing. Whoa, I won 2 dance contests right after that, too. Yes, good. I hear Cindy laughing, or somebody was. 2 dance contests because I just watched the other dancers, the good ones. Remember, nobody watches the bad dancers. So you get out on the floor and you're dancing like nothing. They're not watching you. Nobody cares about the losers. They only want to watch the winners. Excuse me. So watch the winners. So in this movie, those were his words. If I see it, I could do it. So this is going to be our direction. So again, please, no matter where you are physically, I have compassion. I am probably the most empathic person that I know because I'm inside of myself and I'm not inside of you. So I don't know your compassion and empathy, but I know that I've learned well. By the way, there's a great podcast that you might look up, and it's called A Rumor of Empathy. I live my life as much as I can by empathy. We're going to move into something nice there also, and that is about your eyes and what you see. This podcast, A Rumor of Empathy, by a man named Lou Gustafson. Lou's a kind of a middle-aged, mature man, and he speaks well, and he speaks about empathy. and the magic of empathy. He has 12 episodes, but if you just watch the first one, you're going to get into it and understand it. And he uses one phrase that I have brought to my soul to understand others, and that is, he says, empathy is oxygen for the soul. Ooh, that's deep. That's deep. Think of that. Empathy is oxygen for the soul. It just means this. If you have empathy for somebody, you connect with them. You connect well. If you connect with that person as though you are them, not sympathy. Sympathy doesn't work. Sympathy makes your mind weak. Oh, I feel so sorry for you. You feel my energies drop? Just drops. If you want to watch somebody's energies prominent, a lot of us could hide. Oh, hi, nice to see you. I give a shit. It's that kind of a feeling. But let's imagine that you want to see somebody's energies. Learn first by observing some young person or some elderly person. They will show you feelings in their body of what they're experiencing. I think of my grandmother who passed away at 100 years old. My grandmother was prominent in raising me and right up until her last day. I was with her last day. 3 days before she passed away, she made me a great dinner. She lived alone. She scrubbed her floor with a brush. And I had an uncle who was kind of a macho kind of a guy, and he'd always come in and complain about something, and he'd say, goddamn pigs out there, litter all over the streets. And I would watch her body right in front of me go like, and drop down, like that. And you see that in little kids too. You know where you see that? You see that in a base. I guess I don't need my notes, do I? And you see that in a baseball game or football game, and the coach says, get out there and catch the ball better. Even though the kid caught the ball perfectly, that coach wants a little more, and that kid is just dropping because he's never good enough for that coach. Of course, a lot of coaches have changed since then. The word that I use is called love. You give love to the loser who misses the ball, and that kid's going to catch the ball better next time. When I was a kid, I never got involved in sports because I always missed the ball. And the other kids would say, we don't want Garrett on our team, put him on your team. Oh, that didn't make me feel too good. But the real issue is that we challenge the negative people. And in some way, in challenging the negative people, we have a little bit of, my screen just got a thing on there that says Microsoft, excuse me, okay. We challenge the negative people with some negative comments, and we reward the positives. But if we could ignore the negative and acknowledge the positive, then we're going to do a little bit better. I'm talking about ourselves. We need to learn, probably I'm not going to be able to put this in a chronological order effectively for everybody. Whoever you are right now, I'm speaking to you. And we need to learn to refrain from judging ourselves for whatever we do. Most of you who know me hear me use similar phrases continually, and a constant phrase I use is, if I say to you, don't think of the elephant, you think of the elephant. See, so there you go, judging yourself. I asked you not to do something and you do it. And so the issue is, excuse me, when we judge ourselves, we have a challenge that we put ourselves down a little bit and we do the opposite. And, we get out there with the baseball coach again and we say, Garrett, you better not miss that ball. Guess what? I missed the ball. And if we would just hear some positive affirmations, some great inspiration from somebody, use inspiration for yourself, inspire yourself. We all need others, and I'll share that with you in a little while. But let's speak about you. And like this movie that I just mentioned about the ride, and the young boy saying, if I see it, I can do it. What do you see? Do you look with your eyes to see, or do you look through your eyes to see? That's an interesting thought. How do you feel about one? Do you look through your eyes or with your eyes? You might say, what's the difference? Anybody want to interact with me? Do you want to just sit there and let me just speak for 2 hours, or you want to kind of go through some interactions with me? Okay, we'll keep moving. I want you to think of that. Do you look with your eyes or through your eyes? Well, I know this, if I feel with my hands, or do I touch something? So if I touch this water, do I feel the glass? Or do I just touch the glass? Do I experience the glass and its hardness and its roundness and its depth? I think of a story, I like to share stories. When I was around 20, 21, I drove a truck for a couple of years. You know, and a lot of you say, drove a truck? What do you think? I was born a hypnotist? I had about 30 jobs before I was 30 years old. I didn't have a job when I was 1 year old. I just never stayed on a job more than a week or two or a month. I'd get fired or quit. But I did drive a truck for a while. And it was a big semi truck. And it was about 5 states, you know, I'd be driving. And I learned something in learning how to drive a truck, that you're constantly looking in your mirrors as you're looking in front of you. So I can't remember exact instructions, it's 5 or 10 seconds, but 5 seconds is a long time. Watch. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1004. That's a long time, right? You thought 5 seconds were boom. Nope, that's a microsecond. So you were taught that you look in your right mirror, your left mirror in front of you. Right mirror, left mirror, right in front of you. And that kind of reminds me of life. We need to have a little peripheral vision, metaphorically speaking. We need to not just look in front of us. And I think about the other object of this one. We also wish to refrain from learning, from regretting. If we could learn to not regret, I think magic would happen. Regret really harms us more than it harms anyone else. Regret is slowing us down. Regret is saying, oh, I should have, if I would have bought that building when it was cheap, I could have saved. You didn't though. You didn't. You need to move on. So regret to me is like you're driving along and you're always looking in your rearview mirror. Never mind this 5 seconds back and forth, in front, back and forth. Always look in your rearview mirror. You're going to crash. So regret is not an allowable energy. Regret will harm you like anger. I heard a great metaphor about anger, and it said, anger is like taking this hot coal and holding it in your hand as you're going to throw it at somebody else. Well, guess who got burned? You. You probably missed the person anyway if you were like me and you weren't good at sports. But the real issue is you need to do this. So as I speak of myself, and remember, this is about your mind, not mine. But if I share with you my mind, you'll have some inspiration for your own. I jokingly said I wasn't born a hypnotist, but I have to share that once I learned this technique called hypnosis, but beyond that, about learning consciousness, when I think about Don Hood's elegant introduction of me, thank you, Don, thank you so much. It speaks to me about the mountain that I needed to climb to get to the top to see the beauty on the other side. And it started with hypnosis for sure, because everything that I had inside of me seemed to be relieved the first time I was hypnotized and opened my eyes. But because there's many of you that aren't even hypnotists here, I think to myself, you don't need to be a hypnotist for this program we're doing today. Not at all. What you need to think is that everybody is carrying around with them an instrument inside their head. And this instrument could be a horn. I was talking to Mary Rothschild recently. We were talking about her husband, John, blows a horn. Do you ever blow a horn? Boy, it's not easy to do. It might be the strings on a guitar. It might be the keys on a piano. And you are this instrument. Your mind is this instrument. And yes, we could learn how to play this instrument, what they call by ear, but the real issue is we need to learn how this instrument works and what it's about. And metaphorically speaking, the first time I was hypnotized was like the first time I took a music lesson. The first time I took a music lesson when I was 10 years old, it was horrible, but I'm talking about, say, later in life. So I take a music lesson, I'm going to learn how to play this piano. And I touch the keys and it goes, boom, whoa, did you hear that? Whoa! And that's what I felt the first time I was hypnotized. It was like a surge, like a climatic energy went through my body and said, whoa, what was that? Because all the while I was hypnotized, I sat there saying, I'm not hypnotized. I could open my eyes anytime I want. I could hear him speaking. I know I'm not and those of you that are hypnotists on the screen, you know what I'm saying. Those of you that have been hypnotized, you know what I'm saying. And if you've never been hypnotized, maybe you should, just to know what I'm saying. And the real issue is that this energy is inside of all of us, of what meditation or prayer or hypnosis or Buddhist meditation, any of those are inside of us already. So we could go to a class, we could go to a temple, we could go to a workshop and learn how to get inside this instrument and play it. But I might share with you this one that's so powerful. Unless you play this instrument every single day, you're not going to get good at it. You know, when I hypnotize people, I think to myself, okay, what's your goal? Whatever the goal is. You know, I see my great partner in at work, Sally Walsh, is on tonight. You know, if it wasn't for Sally and Anita Barton and Dr. Funda Khan, I might not be sitting here speaking to you people tonight, because Anita and Funda and Evelyn across the street and my good friend Mike, they kept me alive while I was healing last year. And Sally kept the office going while I was healing. Can you imagine keeping some of you have been to our office? It's a big place. It's about 4,000 square feet of bricks, and it takes a lot to keep it going. But for 13 months, Sally kept that office going. And we're gonna, as we go along, I'm gonna share with you later some of the magic that some of the people have created. I spoke to Sally earlier, and I said, do you mind if I share a little bit about what you've done with your life? Because if you hang around with me, you know, I'm a ball buster sometimes. You know, if we don't use the right words or we don't say the right things, I like to call you on it. And of course, I need to be called on it too. You know, beware the person who claims he has his act together. I don't have my act together. I just know that I'm riding that bicycle better every time I get on it. In fact, I remember the first time I ever rode my mountain bike down a steep hill. It's like, oh wow, you know, I'm going to crash. And of course, I didn't crash, and I went down the hill, and I was okay. And it always reminds me that we take a risk of feeling good. Do you know when you feel bad most of your life that it's very uncomfortable to feel good? It's really a challenge. And the challenge is that when you feel bad all of your life, not all of your life, but most of your life, you know, it becomes commonplace for you. And realize the logical mind has value systems of right or wrong. I see Diana Barrara showed up. Diana, we were talking about you a little while ago about when you taught me how to dance. And so you could comment when you're turning off mute. You can't comment. It looks like you're going on a journey there. I was telling him earlier, if you weren't here, about how you hypnotized me to dance, and I won 2 contests. That's my proof. Diana Barrara over there, she'll tell you. I go back to what I'm saying. This logical mind, boy, that was good. You know, usually I forget what I was saying. Don't I, David? Usually I say, what was I saying? And the audience tells me. I just remembered. The logical mind knows what is right or wrong. The logical mind says, it's wrong to eat all those cookies because you're going to get fat. The emotional mind says, but I want to feel better, and cookies feel good. So you eat the whole box of cookies because it feels good. But the logical mind says, no. Well, the logical mind has no power over the emotional mind. The emotional mind lives within us continually. When you're sleeping, the emotional mind is there. Sleeping, you don't have a lot of logic. You know, you could dream about flying. You know, I had some strange dreams the other night about being in some area, driving down the wrong way on a one-way street. I wasn't driving the wrong way, but probably my life might have been going the wrong way down a wrong-way street or one-way street. So the logical mind goes asleep when you sleep, but the emotional mind, ooh, do you know what your emotional mind does when you go to sleep? It is active without control. It is active without your permission. It is active without you using any logic. So let's go back. The logical mind thinks, the emotional mind feels. What you think is not what you feel. I know I'm okay, but I feel like I'm not. I know I look good, but I feel ugly. I know I have enough money, but I feel broke. You see this conflict? Guess who wins? The emotional mind. I make up phrases sometimes. Somebody will say to me, well, where did you read that? I don't know, I just made it up. So one phrase that I like that I made up is, what we've done the longest is the strongest. Ooh. So if you've been smoking cigarettes for 30 years, boy, aren't you good at smoking cigarettes. If you have felt insecure and you can't catch that ball like Larry Garrett when he was a little boy, boy, aren't you good at not catching the ball. So you see, the subconscious mind takes in what we have done for most of our life and says, this is what is true. This is what is real, not what you think. You might say, well, I'm going to take a class on feeling good. You know, I share with you these words. I wish not to criticize or judge others. I really attempt to. I mean, sometime I might come out with something. You know, I was speaking to Anita yesterday about the guy cutting you off on the expressway. So you're driving on the expressway and the guy cuts you off. Stop judging the guy, because he didn't cut you off. He just changed lanes. He doesn't know you exist. He doesn't even have a clue that you're behind him. That's why he didn't even have a turn signal on. He just pulled in the next lane because he wanted to change lanes. He didn't say, oh, I think I will cut Charlie off. Oh, not at all. So refrain from thinking that these other people are doing something against you. They're just living life like you're living life. And I need to share with you that during my time of healing last year, I spent many, many hours just laying in bed, not able to walk, not able to move. Many hours just contemplating life. I did learn many new techniques. I might share that with you of hypnosis. But I learned to start thinking more about issues. And one issue that I came up with is acknowledgement. I came up with a phrase that we all know. Realize what I'm saying to you. We know these things, but we don't always feel these things. If I take my phone and I throw it at you, you duck to keep from getting hit, or you go to catch it. And if I say to you, my light came on. And if I say to you, I promise I'm not going to throw this phone, but 10 minutes from now I'm going to pretend, you'll still duck, because the reflex is set up to duck. That's the reflex. The reflex is coming from the subconscious mind. It's conditioned in there to say, this is what is. So the reflex is not always real. I promised you I wasn't going to throw anything. Why did you duck? So the same issue exists with life, with everything, with habits, with emotions, with out of control. Let's go back to acknowledgement. I determined while I was laying there meditating and contemplating issues of life, attempting to heal. For those of you, as I mentioned earlier, this is about your mind, not your body. And I said to you, wherever your body is right now, we're not going to speak about your body yet. However, wherever your body is right now, it can do a little bit more. And I feel pretty healed. I feel real good about life. I still have some chemo residue in my legs sometime, and I've learned some great skills that I almost contradict what I'm saying, and that is what I know is stronger than what I'm feeling sometime because of this reversal of the body. The body tells me, okay, get up and walk to the other room. If I think about it, I could walk perfect to the other room. I could still do things. If I don't think about it, I might juggle a little bit. You know what it's like? It's like being high or intoxicated. Yeah, being high or intoxicated. You're not quite coordinated. You're not quite balanced. You're partway there and you're not partway there, and you kind of wobble a little bit. But then I'm making up silly stories, but then you're driving along and a blue light flashes behind you. Oh, all of a sudden you are straight as an arrow. Yes, officer, what did I do wrong? Because you could think outside of that intoxication often, unless you're serious. That's why they have a .8 in Illinois about being intoxicated. I guess, I don't know, I don't understand that stuff. I'm just making stuff up. You know, every time somebody says, Larry, how did you know that? I don't know, I just made it up. But it works, whatever I'm saying to you. Many of you sitting right now know that what I'm speaking of works, because You probably attempted. I could teach you how to play that instrument. You want to learn how to play that instrument? You watch. Now, if you don't go home and practice it in a week from now, you'll remember where the keys are, but you most likely will forget the feelings of the music, the rhythm, the beat, the experience of the music. And that's the way I look at our mind. I say to you, okay, every night before you go to sleep, I want for you to meditate. Okay, Larry, I'm going to meditate. And it feels good. And every night you go to sleep and you don't meditate. It's like walking down the sidewalk in the hole. I hope all of you have heard that story because I don't feel like repeating it right now. But you walk down the street and you fall in a hole. And you walk down the next day and you fall in the same hole. And one day you choose another street. Again, it's a nice story and it says well about the mind. When we always do what we've always done, we always get what we always got. What have you always done? How about this one? I never seem to be able to lose weight. Right. The subconscious mind says, okay, that's what it says. I've never felt confident. Subconscious mind says, okay, what we tell ourselves is what we become. Here's the skill. How can you tell yourself something so you absorb it? Experience it like looking through your eyes instead of with your eyes. How could you take in an energy? If I say to you tonight, I promise you this tonight, I promise you your life will change if you follow the instructions I'm sharing with you tonight. And they're not difficult instructions, they're just instructions about taking it a moment at a time. I go to the phrase that's a very special phrase to me, and that is, we become what we think about all day long. Yeah, what do you think about all day long? What are you feeling all day long? We become what we think about. So I often like to say how I've moved through my life to help you. Remember, I share with you joking, but seriously, I'm not here to tell you how great I am. I'm here to share with you how I've worked over this mountain of life to see the beauty on the other side. Excuse me. I have been gifted by becoming obsessed with meditation, obsessed with words of appropriate manner. I think of the words of, I think of a good one. I remember I had to have the roof of my office building repaired, and this roofer guy was up there and he says, "Oh, you got a problem here." How do you like that word problem? Is that an interesting word? Problem. You got a problem. First off, I've changed that word in my vocabulary to say I've got a challenge of some sort. Mike, my right-hand man that does the maintenance work for me, he's learned a new word because I keep on him all the time. We've got an issue here. An issue. That still sounds better than a problem, doesn't it? We could say, go ahead, Kate. You have a thought?
Yeah, I do. I did a short stint in sales, and I read a lot of sales books and that kind of stuff. And I think if everyone read sales books, you would learn how to run your life better. But at any rate, one of the things in the sales book, what were you just saying? Because now I let myself get off on a tangent. About the thoughts all day?
Yes. That's a good one. Yes. Talk to me.
Well, I'm going to have to change gears because I had two thoughts, and one of them was it's very intimidating to know that you're spending all day long having all these thoughts that you don't acknowledge because you're busy doing something else. Um, and then you're trying to train yourself for new thoughts. But if your core beliefs are still kind of hooked to those old thoughts you're having and still having without your total awareness during the day, it's very intimidating because what do they say? How many thoughts do you have a day? What is it? Is like
Thousands.
50,000?
Yeah, I don't know, but yes.
Yeah. So how do you tackle that? How do you tell yourself something all the time, but there's something else that you're telling yourself when you're not aware of what you're saying to yourself. Does that make
You
sense?
want an answer? Or you're just sharing that with me. I have an answer for that if you need it.
Good. I want to, yeah, I am asking because yes.
We need to learn to discontinue this language of telling ourselves anything. One interesting word I heard in this movie I mentioned, The Ride, remember The Ride, look that up and watch it, was nobody, I think it was in that one, maybe it was a different one. Nobody wants to be told what to do. Kate, you should do this every day. Right? So we don't want to tell ourselves anything. We want to experience it. We don't want to see it. We want to look through our eyes and feel it and experience it. So Kate, observe that one. Instead of telling yourself what to do, live it. So if you live inappropriately and you have an action that's not to your well-being, what if you became aware of it and shifted it? Don't tell yourself, don't say to yourself, I shouldn't eat all those cookies. It's not going to work, you know. But what if you catch yourself eating all those cookies? And excuse me, I'm just making that up, Kate, because I eat a lot of cookies. And I say to myself, look, there's Larry eating another cookie. So instead of judging myself, become aware of it and push the cookies away. You know, I'm going to lead into another thing as you talk. But go ahead, Kate. You had a second part too.
Oh, with salespeople, I was taught that a problem is only an opportunity in, false clothing. So
Good.
you've got to change the clothing of your problem, and then
Mm,
you've got an opportunity.
mm,
And um, one of the best examples I heard of that was there was a new guy who came to a company, and he was in sales, and they gave him the worst territory. And he was supposed to sell all these small homes in a subdivision where the trains come through at certain times of the day. And so he went and like every time he would sell a house, he would buy a television set. And when we would have people come to look at that house, he'd have the television set on while they were talking or whatever. And they'd just be talking, and then he would stop and he would say, "Did you realize a train just went through?" And they would say no. And he would say, "You're going to be fine here." And he sold all those houses just doing that.
yeah, that's good. In other words, I look at, Kate, you being a hypnotist as well, and I look at hypnosis as magic of the mind. So here's why. The magician does just what that salesperson did. The magician, he or she holds up their right hand and says, watch this trick, as they pull the string with their left hand. So you're busy watching the right hand and you miss the left hand, and that's sort of what he did. He put on the TV to distract them from the train, and he hypnotized them. So when we distract the logical mind, so instead of telling myself, I distract the logical mind to reach inside the emotional mind. And as I reach inside the emotional mind, I communicate another message. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
I told my mother when my mother was still alive, I told her that little story. And she said, well, I think that's true because she was in real estate for a short time also. And she said there was this house that was real ugly. It was small, it was real ugly and dark. And she didn't even like taking people into the house. And one weekend, she decided to go to the store and buy paint. And she painted the rooms of the house. And then she sold the house, right? First people that came, she sold the house to them. Is it because they saw these newly painted walls and that made them buy the house? I don't think so. I think it was because she changed her perception and her attitude about this house and how to sell it.
So, so, you know, it's an interesting thing that this meeting's about. This group, whatever we call it, that's been a meeting for many years, and that is this interaction that we have to learn from each other what we're doing right now. And, Kate and I, we've known each other many years. And I often say to her, a nice connection that we make. And this is a good connection. Mothers are great. And I did have something in my mind to lead into that. But I'm going to lead into how we can communicate to our emotional mind so it always believes us.
Yeah.
I think the challenge is that our emotional mind doesn't always believe what we're saying to it.
Yes.
I want to finish with the roofer, and then I'll move on to how to get the emotional mind to believe. And please, just like Kate, I'm observing if my eyes go away from the camera, it's because I'm looking to see if you're holding up your hand. But I think about the roofer, and he says, "You got a problem here." And I could feel the stress as he was wording these words, because I really attempt not to use, excuse the word, I really attempt to refrain from using words which would give my emotions an uncomfortable feeling. Like, oh, look at that wrinkle. Oh, screw that wrinkle. I think I look pretty good for where I've been and what I'm doing. And I'm talking to myself. So I said earlier, don't look at this as ego. Look at this as confidence. I want you to be as confident as I'm speaking right now before we're finished. Wherever you are physically, emotionally, spiritually, I want you to feel that confidence. So I said to him, well, can you fix it? Oh, yeah, of course. I said, well, then I don't have a problem. I only have a problem if you can fix it. But I learned something from him which I didn't agree with, but I heard another language, and that language was, I learned this from that language. I said, why did you tell me I have a problem? Because when I tell people they have a problem, then they feel bad and they need me to fix it. Ooh, wasn't that interesting sales? Not for me. A little while ago, I see my friend Dr. Christine Clark on here. And so Dr. Christine and I were speaking a little while ago about this importance. She's a psychiatrist in California, and periodically we chat about something, but we were chatting just about that, about the experiences that a person has and the self-reflection of who they are. So as we have these experiences of what we're feeling, going back to what you said earlier, Kate, how do I tell my subconscious mind? So hear me as I'm speaking to you. And I'm just gonna pick on somebody. Vanessa, I met Vanessa last week. Yeah, Vanessa Weiss. Yes, thank you. How long have you been a hypnotist, Vanessa? 2 years?
1 year.
1 year, okay. And Vanessa's in Pennsylvania, right?
That's right.
All right, great. So if I say to you, Vanessa, you've got a problem with the hypnosis the way you're doing it. How are you feeling? Oh, that's a good answer. Oh, that's a good answer. I mean, wasn't that about
You have to admit there's a problem till you go to find a solution. So
But it doesn't feel good, does it, Vanessa?
no, you don't want to hear that.
Yeah, you don't want to hear that. I'm now speaking about yourself. I want you to speak to yourself and say, refrain from using the word problem to anybody. You got a problem, Vanessa. I feel as bad saying that to you as you feel receiving it. Do you know that?
Thank you, Larry.
But of course, I'm play rolling with you. But here, for all of you, hear this. Hear how difficult it feels to tell somebody something negative. That's what I'm saying. Feel that, experience that, what it's like. Those of you who've known me, I think about David Techler, Don Hood, or here's one. How about Fern Schultz? Fern Schultz, look at Fern over there. How long have we known each other, Fern? 50 years? Oops. Turn it on, Fern. Turn that mute off. I don't have control. Don Hood's. There you
There.
go.
I got it.
How much?
Forever.
Forever.
Right.
And so in forever years, like Diana Barrara, how long you known Diana Barrara? Forever too, right? It's always good to see her. She's working in our office now, so I'm pretty excited that she drives 90 miles to see her clients. Whoa, talk about dedication to hypnosis in your profession. Whoa. So there's a couple of people who've known me at least 50 years, And I guess I might say to you, Fern, say it like it is. How often do you hear me put somebody down?
Never.
Thank you. Thank you. I know I must do it occasionally, but that's a long time to say never. Thank you. I love you still, Fern. Even if you would have said all the time, I would still love you. But really, that is my philosophy. How can I feel good if I tell you you're wrong? Think of that. How can I? Remember, we're talking about your mind, the power of your mind, the power. So instead of saying, well, that person's doing it wrong, ooh, does that mean I'm doing it right? There's a good judgment. Do people judge? I know all of you don't agree with this, but do people judge by the fact of how somebody else is worse? Those of you who don't know this story, Vanessa, I'm so glad you're joining in because I appreciated meeting you last time, and it's even more exciting that you're here this time. And you know, and it kind of gives me a good feeling that you're here. And because especially when somebody starts hypnosis new, I always think to myself, what can I do to help them? And Yoshiko in Japan, my God, I am so honored Yoshika has joined us from 10,000 miles away. Thank you. And I see you're a very successful woman, aren't you, Yoshika?
Yeah, I do have 2 businesses, yes.
Ooh, did you hear that confidence? Did you see that posture? She didn't say, well, it's sort of, and I'm trying to do the best I can. She went like this, yeah, I'm pretty successful, and I do have 2 successful businesses. I love that. See, and that's another issue about the power of your mind. Refrain from associating with the naysayers of life, and refrain from being with the people who tighten your chest a little bit. You know, if you go visit somebody and you sit down and, go ahead, Diana, you'll have your hand up. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You got to turn off your mute, Diana. We can't hear a word your lips are saying. Move those lips, baby, and turn yourself right side up and click off the mute. Yeah, you could wave your hand all you want, but until you click off that, we can't hear you. Mute, lower left-hand side of your screen. Look at the lower left hand. You see the camera?
Okay,
Oh, you got
got it. Got it. Another one.
Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Another one is, I'm so sorry. How does it feel to be sorry? It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. You know, thank you, Diana. You're right. And I might comment on that one as well. I learned many years ago, some of you know the person, Ann Landers, who used to write the column in, I know Chicago newspapers. I think she was in many others. And I remember one time somebody writing, what do I say when somebody has lost a loved one? So most commonly, like Diana says, oh, I'm so sorry that your brother has passed away. I'm so sorry that your friend has died. Why are you sorry? You didn't do anything. And Ann Landers...
It doesn't feel good.
Doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good. And Ann Landers wrote back and said, maybe say something like, if there's anything I could do for you, you let me know.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I just like the fact of refraining from saying I'm sorry about stuff. So we're learning well. We're learning today not to use negative energies. Refrain from being with people who speak in some negative way that causes you not to feel okay. I have so many stories, and I only have 2 hours to share with you. I was on the phone with my attorney about 2 hours ago. You say, attorney, what for, Larry? Well, not for any legal issues, just for book issues. Book issues, you know. The issues are, excuse me, that when you write a book, there's so many legalities of copyright and infringement and things of that type. And so, you know, recently, you know, I have 2 titles for one story, both of them written differently. And it cost me a good sum of money to buy the one title back from the publisher, because the first title I published myself, and I thought that was a great book. But self-publishing isn't always the best way to sell a book or to move a book on. So I couldn't have the book published in the United States because it was blackmailed, not blackmailed, sorry, blacklisted, blackmailed, that's a good word, blacklisted because it spoke highly of the Iraqi people. It said how great they were. And we're going to war with the Iraqi people. We don't want to hear how great these people are. We're going to go kill 2 million of them. So I found a publisher in another country who published it. But then there was some challenges and discrepancies, and that's why I had an attorney. But here's what she said to me that was so great. She says, is there anything uncomfortable that's going on? Yes. Then don't do it. She says, I might be an attorney, but I'm going to tell you, my gut feeling is, and boy, if you want to speak to a magical, positive attorney, her name is Gogh Sodek, Soodek. Gogh. What a nice name, huh? Gogh. So Gogh says, I've got this gut feeling, an attorney with a gut feeling. We are learning the magic of life in our society, that people are understanding the subconscious mind, and we're beginning to deal with the subconscious mind more fully, more as a power. Because,
Awareness.
I'm sorry, say Diana, can you
Awareness. People are becoming more aware.
mute that? Please hold up your hand if you're going to comment, because I've got 35 people out here, and if you comment without your hand, then I might not see you. If you just
sorry.
comment while I'm talking, then I'm going to lose my train of thought. What was I saying? Awareness. So anyway, this attorney, go ahead, please, Diana, you take over.
No, Coco, I was reminding you what you were saying.
Gogh, thank you, yeah. So Gogh tells me her gut feeling, and she used these words, and I'm using them with you. This is good. We had a long conversation. I'll bet you we were on the phone an hour. And I have some great people in my life. Patty Vasco is my accountant. She's been my accountant for about 32 years. And without her, who knows? You know, hypnosis, as most of you know, is not an easy business. It's not like Yoshiko with 2 successful businesses. You know, as hypnotists, we say, I hope I get clients today. Shut up. Don't say I hope. Create them. So Patty and I spent about 3 hours last week with wisdom and knowledge, because Patty's a very logical, successful accountant and a very emotional, spiritual person. And I learned today that Gogh Sodek is the same kind of person, because she continually said to me, if it doesn't feel okay, then put it aside. And she says, how about if you just think about what's the purpose in this? Now remember, we're just talking about a book. It's going to cost me thousands of dollars. I told her, I says, I was with my accountant for 3 hours, but you cost me more per hour, so I won't talk to you as long. But the real issue is, we need to realize that if it doesn't feel good, our subconscious mind knows we are wasting our time. Why are you hanging around with the naysayers? Why do you keep falling in that hole? Move out of that hole.
Larry?
Please, who I missed a hand.
It's Don.
Good, Don.
Are you surprised that you're attracting these kinds of people into your life?
Thank you, Don.
Even though they're left brain, being an accountant and an attorney,
Yes.
there's this other side that you attracted them.
Thank you, Don. And yourself as well. You know, yourself as well. So Don Hood says it well. Yes. I think I live my life on a very spiritual level of conscious and subconscious awareness. I balance the two like the bicycle. So if the conscious mind says, oh, do that, it's going to be good, and the subconscious mind, I don't know, I'm going to listen to the subconscious mind. I want to hear that. When I was going through this healing process of cancer, you know, I have to be careful how I talk, because I have learned how to manifest easily. You know, I think about people that I meet, like my new friend from Japan, Yoshiko. You know, I think we've only connected about a month or so, but I meet these people. How did I draw a successful woman from Japan? From Japan, thank God for the internet. But the real issue is, you're right, Don, we draw these people. Because I notice, like, some people say, oh, Facebook is just full of a whole bunch of negative stuff. No, it's not. No, it's not. You are just looking at the negative stuff. That's what you're doing. You're looking at the people complaining. Did you ever think of looking at the good, looking at the positive? So I'm going to move into a story. I spoke to Sally earlier, and Sally said it was okay if I shared the story with her. Sally Walsh has been working with me for 21 years. Is that right, Sally? 21 years? Where'd you go, Sally? There you go. You could, if you hit the microphone, yeah, there
Yes,
you go.
yes,
21 years.
21 years.
21 years. Okay. So I met Sally. Actually, I met her through her sister. And again, as I say, I did get her permission to share. It's a great story. We're talking about manifestation. I consider myself an excellent manifester, but I'm not going to speak about me. I'm going to speak about somebody who's been 21 years listening to me and saying stuff and coming from a different space of life. So Sally brought her sister in to be hypnotized. So I remember well, she's kind of skeptical, and her sister's here. And so I hypnotized her sister, and you could tell us, what did your sister look like when she came out, Sally?
She has such a calm face that I never saw before.
Yeah, calm face you never saw before.
Peaceful.
Huh?
She was peaceful, very peaceful,
Good.
very calm face that I've never saw before.
So many of you know Sally. Many of you know Sally, and she's a good lady. She's a good woman. And she's very positive about what we're doing and what's going on. But let me share with you this one. So Sally said to me, maybe I might try this. And I see this positive woman sitting there. And I said, well, what would you be using this for? I don't know what it was. But Sally was going through a lot of physical challenges then, weren't you?
Yes.
What was that, Sally?
Crohn's illness.
Yeah, Crohn's. And Sally taught me a lesson. I still use this occasionally, and people who are close to me catch me on it. But Sally said, my Crohn's. I said, oh, your Crohn's. Well, if it's your Crohn's, you might as well keep it, because you're not going to give it to anybody else. You're not going to get rid of it. This is my computer. I'm not going to give it to you. I'm not going to throw it away. It's my computer. So little by little, she changed the language. And I often think of great stories. I exaggerate stories sometimes, but it's nice to have Sally speaking. And so Sally goes to her doctor one day, and there's no traces of the Crohn's. And what happened, Sally?
Well, we were talking, and I was telling the doctor that I use hypnosis and stuff like that. And they had said that they were trained not to believe in that.
You hear those words? Trained to not believe in that. So this, of course, is many years ago. I remember one time Sally and I were eating some Famous Amos cookies. Any of you ever eat Famous Amos cookies? They're great. Yeah, I saw some hands go up. Well, guess what, though? When you have Crohn's, anything with peanut traces could be deadly. Did you know that? Ooh. How long were you laid up that time, Sally, when you ate those cookies?
About a week.
About a week.
Week, yes.
She was immobile for a week because she ate some cookies with peanuts. To this day, she still has an emotional aversion to peanuts, but it's most likely like many of us who used to smoke cigarettes. I would have a strong aversion to putting a cigarette to my mouth. Yeah, right. Might affect me again. Ooh, no way. So anyway, so Sally, she's a pretty healthy woman now. Again, if you've met Don, you've met Sally. How does she look? Yes, good. But now, so Sally's learning how to manifest. And manifest to me is creating what we would desire. I believe, without a reservation, that anything we desire, we could have. That's why many of you listening to me don't have, because you create absence of having. So you say, maybe as a hypnotist, you might say, I'm getting no clients today. Right, the subconscious mind says, okay. You say, well, how could you keep a client away? Energies. We need to learn energy. Never mind what you say, never mind what you do. It's all about energy. I'm excited. I have one of my favorite books right now. Actually, I ordered a few of them because I keep telling people, here's one of my favorite books. There you go. It's a nice Kinship with All Life. Boy, I'll bet half of you on the screen have heard me talk about Kinship with All Life.
I just read it.
Huh?
I just read it a few months ago. It's always been on my list because of the way you talk about it. And
Yeah.
it was It was not what I expected, and it was really fun and a really good book. Fascinating. And little. It's little, so it's a fast read.
Yeah, it is, Kate. You're right. You know what Kinship with All Life though taught me though? I read this the first time probably about 20 years ago. By the way, it was written in 1959, I think. It was written by a guy who used to dog sit for Rin Tin Tin, famous dog in the 50s that most of us don't remember. Some of us might. And he said he had the dog sit for Rin Tin Tin. He was friends of the owners. And he said he's never had a dog, so he didn't know how to take care of that dog. Should that dog sleep in bed with me because he's a celebrity? Should he sleep on the floor because he's a dog? I'll let the dog tell me how to treat it. Well, the book, if you read it the way I did, Kate, and anybody else has read it, my counseling skills, my pre-talk skills doubled after I read that book. It taught me that all living things communicate with intent. Yes, with intent. I don't want to forget about the story with Sally, but right now I went to that book because intent is the issue. Intent. What's your intent? Share with yourself what that is. You remember Kate says, what do you tell yourself? Never mind what you tell yourself. Share with yourself what intent is to you. My intent is tonight that we leave here, we finish up here, and all of you who have hung around feel better. You know, that's kind of egotistical, isn't it? That you're all going to feel better. Yeah, you're all going to feel better. You know, one of the favorite things that I used to hear at the Sunday meetings, you remember those, Kate? Do you remember what people would say when they left the meeting?
They don't know why, but they feel better.
That's right. That's right. That's a good one. I don't know why, but I feel better. It's about language like this. You know, remember our mothers used to say, be careful who you hang around with. You get just like them. Oh, oh. So tonight you're hanging around with me. And, you know, I share with you that anything that I've set out to accomplish, you know, Anita asked me the other day, she said, well, what have you accomplished lately? Because I accomplish things. You know, I want something and I accomplish it. And I had to think, oh yeah, big things, big things. I create. I create things. They just happen. So Sally is, you know, somebody who's with me. I'm not seeing clients every day before like I used to. You know, before we'd see 30 or 40 clients in a week. And right now she's lucky to get me there one day a week because I'm there because I want to be, not because I need to be or anything. But Sally knows, and here's an intent, and here's how we create things. So Sally used to say to me, she always had these stories that somebody had told her. My sister told me that I would never have my own house unless I get married. Ooh, are you some of you women and feminists out there saying, don't listen to your sister, Sally? Barbara, I see you putting your hand to your face thinking about that one. What do you think of that one, Barbara? I can't hear you. Remember to hit your mute if you want to talk to me. If you don't want to talk to me, I'll move on. Too much time wasted. There you go.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that I've only owned one house with a husband. Everything else I've owned by myself.
Ooh, good for you. But you got the first one with the husband. So,
But it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't imagine saying that to a woman now.
You're right.
Yeah.
So I said that to Sally. I said, no, Sally, you don't need to be married to have your own house. So Sally called me. You know, Sally and I have a great relationship. We have a special relationship, and I'm going to say it's most likely like cousins or brothers and sisters, because I remember when Sally started working for me, Patty, my accountant, says, don't date her, because if you date her, we got to fire her. I figured the relationship of her running the office was better than me losing it because of that statement. So I listen, I hear it well. Please, Diana, turn your microphone off, okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you. Because I know a lot of you have comments, but again, they just distract me unless you want to talk. So Sally would ask me for advice different times, and I'd answer her the best I could. I'd say, yeah, okay, you can do that, I would do that. And she says, I want to look at this house. It's for sale, it's down the street from me. Would you come with me? Of course. So I came and met with her, and we walked around the house, and we don't have to get into dollars, but I'm going to say to you, was the best real estate deal I've ever seen. And yet I pulled off some good ones myself, but here's Sally's. She looks around the house, and so the guy tells her what he wants for the house, and she says, well, that's not what I had in mind. Were those your words, Sally? That's not what I had in mind? We don't have to talk about dollars, how much, but what were your words?
Yes.
Yes.
I think he said so much money, and then I said I can come up with a little bit more, something like that. And then we pretty much left.
Yeah.
And that's what I had said to you. Well, I don't think
What did I say to you, Sally? What did I say?
he didn't say no.
You hear that? You hear that? He didn't say no. We don't need to talk about dollars, but I'm going to say this. Sally dropped the price of that house by 40%. Ooh, think about that. Think about buying a house. I know, I see Greg Andrews shaking his head there. Yeah, Greg, it's true. Because he didn't say no. And Sally just said, well, that's not what I had in mind. I had in mind this price. And he didn't say no. We were there for probably half hour, an hour, and didn't say no. So when we left, I said, Sally, he didn't say no. When somebody doesn't say no, they are subconsciously showing their intent. Yoshiko, is that a good business statement? Yes, yes.
Yes, I would think so. Yeah.
So they didn't say no, because no is no, no. I remember when I took Jack, and Jack's over there snoring, you probably hear him. I took Jack into dog training, and the dog trainer says, refrain from ever saying to your dog no. And I don't know why, because he only understands what I tell him. It's our energies. Our energies say no. Jack has had some allergies right now. He's back on some medication to help with his allergies, and he would chew on his paw. And Barb, I know you know animals, so you probably know that when they chew on his paw, he's chewing on his hind leg, and they say, hey, and he stops. And he stops like nothing happened. Did you say something? However, hey sounds different than no. Go back to Sally. So calculating dollars, by the way, Sally, also, didn't you write out a check what you wanted your monthly payment to be or something?
Yes,
Yes.
I did.
Wrote out a check before she bought the house, before she looked at the house. Am I right? Before you looked at the house?
Yes, I put the address of that house on the check also.
That's
Like it was my house already.
That's manifesting, everybody. To manifest is to create it as though it has happened. One time I was looking at a building down the street from my house for 3 years. I was sharing the story just the other day. For 3 years, Carm, who most of you know, Carm Blockenary, and I went to an auction. It was a door company in Elk Grove Village, Illinois. And in fact, I think that's where the president was recently. And people, they said, it was in Chicago. No, he's in Elk Grove Village, but people in other cities don't know what Elk Grove Village is. So we go to this door auction, and they were selling doors, auctioning doors, and I bought 2 garage doors for a building that I wanted to buy, that one day I would tell people, one day I'm going to own that building. 3 years. 3 years I went with that. So I bought these garage doors. I put them in my garage, these garage doors to go in another garage, so that when I got this building, I would have the doors, because it needed garage doors. Now, some of you know that that's a true story. That's a true story. And that's the way Sally was. She wrote out the check, how much she wanted her monthly payment to be. By the way, Sally has one of the lowest mortgage payments of anybody I know because of her manipulations with what she does. In fact, right now she's rehabbing this house. And again, I sent you a text recently, didn't I, Sally, about you're a magical lady with this? Yes, yes.
Yes, you did. Yes.
Yeah. Because I want to view people who are magical in some way and can create. As long as they can create, they're moving along. So I don't mean to take up this whole time talking about Sally. I'm talking about you. You are Sally. You want that house? Listen to see if they're saying no. You want that? I think about a statement, a great story I learned many years ago. It's about the cat that's chasing his tail. And the guy says to the cat, why are you chasing your tail? And the cat says, I heard I will have the riches of life if I catch my tail. Yeah? Are you chasing your tail? The guy says, well, don't you know if you just go through life, your tail will follow you everywhere you go? Isn't that an interesting story to think about? Never mind trying, never mind hoping, never mind I wish, just allow it to be. I think that in the write-up that Don Hood and David Techler put on this introduction, I don't know who put it up there, I know I wrote it and they put it together, it said, I would teach all of you how to feel better with one word. Those, of course, that know me know the word. Anybody know what that word is? One word.
Trust.
Good, good. Anita, thank you, Anita. Anita also gets tired of hearing me all the time saying these things. But there's another magical lady. This magical lady has gone from not knowing for sure to creating. She has a great practice, too. She's a student of Funda Khan's. Christine Clark and I were talking today, Dr. Christine and I were talking today about taking classes in December. Dr. Funda and myself are going to do some classes on certification. And Anita took classes from Funda. And when she sees a client, the client does well. I don't know if it's okay, Anita, but I'm going to share this story. One day I see a client out in the hall. Anita's working office across the hall from me, and I see a client in the hall, and I say, boy, I've seen that client a lot of times. How many times that client's been to you? Anita says, 51 times. 51 times! I don't care what kind of business you're in. Can you imagine a repeat customer 51 times? Can you imagine what you must have done? You probably hypnotized her to keep coming back, or she probably didn't get it right, but 51 times. So, yeah, she's laughing now. But it's true. Is that good wording? That's good wording, right? So I said to her, 51 times. She said, I've got a lot of clients that have been here many times. Really? I thought I was the only one. I have two clients that have been coming to see us since the 70s. And both ladies in their elderly days, and both of them passed away this past year. But since the 70s, they've been coming regularly to be hypnotized. So if you're a hypnotist out there, or a therapist out there, if you're a psychiatrist like Dr. Clark, whatever your business is, it's irrelevant. I'm saying to you, if it's life, realize that if you do and practice your consciousness well, you will have continual prosperity. You will have continual health. You will have continual well-being. And you say, well, how can I have continual health? Because you'll begin to know your health. You know, I make up silly stories. Silly story I make up is, until you have a stomach ache, you didn't know you had a stomach. How's that one? That's just a silly story, right? There's a second part to the story that I made up. But once you know your stomach, it never hurts again. That's an interesting statement. Think of that one. What does that seem to mean? Once you know your consciousness, from then on, things will be okay. To manifest, to me, is to create. We are all capable of creating. We are all artists in our own mind in some way. I look at the board here, as some of you are, and I see all of these names, many of them very familiar to me, some of them not, and I say, each person, whoever I'm speaking to right now, can create all of this. You know, I'm not a great religious person, although very spiritual, but I think of historians, and I think about one guy who's made a lot of history book. His name was Jesus Christ. And Jesus says, anything I can do, you can do. And of course, if you have this view of awe and some kind of better being than you probably would inhibit a little bit. My greatest mentor and teacher was in the late 70s. His name was Ken Keyes, K-E-Y-E-S. He's passed on. Ken Keyes was a quadriplegic. He was paralyzed from the chest down. But I share with you a profound statement. When he would put his arm around you, he'd lift his arm up and put his arm around you, you could feel vibrations going through your body. Vibrations from his energy. He was a marvelous, marvelous teacher. He wasn't a good speaker because he spoke like this, because, you know, he didn't have a good diaphragm, but he wrote excellent. I read his first book, Handbook to Higher Consciousness, by accident. Some of you might know another book that's a very favorite one of mine by Florence Scovel Shinn, called The Game of Life and How to Play It. None of you know that book? Richard, I just saw your yellow light come on. Were you going to say something, Richard?
Yeah, I had a martial arts instructor back when I was just starting judo. And his comment was, he said, you just listen to everything and you do whatever we ask you. You don't have any preconceived valuing on any of what I'm teaching you. And he said, you're one of the few people I've noticed that sees experience as gaining confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And that struck me as very
Powerful.
interesting. He was very far into Zen. And it struck me as he's absolutely interesting through that. And it's either positive and negative. And when you said that someone could say your hypnosis is no good, I actually had early on an individual who said I was doing hypnosis wrong. Wrong. And I said, what struck me as odd about that is because I've been doing meditation since the 60s. So I knew from experience that I was doing it right because people were going into hypnosis. So how is it that we overcome the negativity around us that we see and have sometimes of people negatively impacting us, but we walk right through it because we have the experience that has given us that confidence? That's the only point I wish to make off of what you've been talking about.
Thank you, Richard. And I might share with you, Richard, as I look at Richard and I look at many of you here, and David, a great friend of mine. I love David Techler, and I look at how these people who practice what we're speaking about seem to stay younger longer. Yes, they seem to stay younger. Look at Diana Barrara. I brag about Diana a lot because Diana and I sort of started together. I was doing a class in Wright College, and she was there, and she already had known hypnosis, and we started working in the same office together around 1971 or so. She is the longest running female hypnotist that I know of. Since 1971 has been doing hypnosis as her only profession. So when I think of that, I think of doing right or wrong. Richard, I comment about this with what you said. There is no wrong way to do hypnosis. There are ways that don't work as well, but I look at hypnosis as an art. And some people like oil colors, and some people like watercolors, and some people like pastels, and some people like sculptures, but they're all artists. You know, I think about Van Gogh right now. I guess Van Gogh's art is all around the place, but I just recently read a little bit about Van Gogh. I never knew his sister-in-law was who promoted his famous popularity. His last painting sold for $8 million. And Van Gogh, interesting, he cut off his ear because he was arguing with his roommate. He shot himself at 37 years old because he thought he was a failure. And yet we look at his art. So somebody must have given him some negative energy. So when I think about David, I want to go back to Ken Kai's, but I think about David, and I think, Richard, and I think about Richard saying, you know, he'd done it wrong. I choose not to judge, but I question, why would somebody want to tell me that I'm not okay of anything? I think it started in basic school, primary school. You know, as I say, we've got about 5 people from 5 different countries on today, so I don't know what they call them in theirs, but in the United States we call it kindergarten. In kindergarten, I always remember my first day in kindergarten. And my mother brought me to school. She left me out in front and she went home. And I lived about 2 blocks from home. I was 5 years old. And I had diarrhea right in front of the school. Wow, I could remember that. And we talk about, Karen Hand recently had a nice statement of what the conference coming up this weekend, and how we are always, all of us are constantly regressing, constantly with our mind flowing to what happened when we were 5 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old, and how true that is without even thinking about it. But I brought that up to share with you how life started for me academically. And then I'm going to bring up how it started to be judged and how we started to not be okay. This is my version, just my version. Excuse me, it's my turn. I've been invited by Don Hood and David Techler to present to you tonight, so it's my turn. And I say, my version is, you go to school that first or second day, and your mother dresses you in a shirt or a blouse you don't like. I hate this shirt. I don't like it. Too bad, kid. Go to school. And you get to school, and the first thing you do is you point out to another kid, you've got a funny shirt on, so they don't notice that you have a funny. It's just a metaphor. But I believe with everything I've learned, the metaphor is accurate, that we learned how to judge others so we don't feel bad of who we are. Yes, I do. However, if we go back to what Richard was saying, and if somebody told me he's doing it wrong, that person, whoever that person was, I don't care who, it wasn't me, but whoever it was, I'm going to say, why does this person have a need to tell somebody else their shirt is funny? So you don't notice their shirt that they didn't want to wear to class. So it's just a story of a metaphor to say, if you learn to discontinue and refrain from judging others, I promise you, your life will elevate tenfold. Going back to the conference, our time is moving. Do you know we've been talking an hour and a half already? Whew, time flies when we're having fun. To go back to the conference, my presentation, the first time in about 38 years, I think that's how long the conference has been going on, that I'm the keynote speaker. And it reminds me of how I started in hypnosis. And when I first started in hypnosis, I wasn't liked. And some of you were around then and remember that. And Diana Barrara was a great inspiring person to me, saying, don't pay attention to them. What do they know? But I always remember a couple of people who belonged to the second Tuesday Hypnosis Group, which was called the Association to Advance Ethical Hypnosis. I still call it that. I recently said to somebody, when I wrote it, I said, if they don't like it, they could sue me, but I know it's okay for me to say. The Association to Advance Ethical Hypnosis, it's been around since the 40s. And late 40s, I think it started. And it was the largest hypnosis group in the world for a while, because there wasn't much hypnosis then. And I go back to how rejected I was, and not able to be okay. And I'm going to refrain from names except if it's positive. And I went to a conference in 1974, and they wouldn't let me in. And the person at the door says, "Oh no, we don't let people like you in." Do you ever wonder what that means when somebody says people like you? Well, who's like you? There's nobody like me. There's only one Larry Garrett, just me. So there's nobody like me. And Larry Goldberg, who was our president of the guild, or this meeting, for how many years, Don? 45 years or so, wasn't he? Yeah, 45 years. So Larry Goldberg comes to the door. He says, "Oh, he's a friend of mine." I share with you, well, it's called energy. I didn't even know Larry Goldberg. I didn't even know who he was. And he's telling this guy I'm a friend of his. And of course they let me in because Larry was in charge then. Didn't matter what the other guy said. We became so close that I did his eulogy at his funeral and his wife's funeral, because that's how much we had connected. But Larry Goldberg was this kind of a man who was, like I'm speaking, would refrain from talking bad about other people. He didn't like certain things, and he would tell you he didn't like it, but he would choose not to judge that. The reason I bring that up is because many times this is a good story. And it's about how I evolved into a better place. Many times, I know myself and Diana Barrara did as well, we would enter a contest at the Midwest Hypnosis Conference. That was a different conference before the Mid-America, the Midwest. And I remember 7 years in a row, I didn't win. And finally, I just gave up. And this person says, Larry, I see you didn't, you could tell by the voice that who it is. Larry, I see by you didn't enter the contest. I said, well, I never win anyway. Well, you were going to win this year. Oh, I was going to win this year. And at that time, I was connected with a woman that was a feminist. She was a strong feminist, taught me a lot of lessons about women. Taught me to stop calling women girls. You know, I remember one time I said, what time are girls coming home? Oh, girls? Yeah, and this was in the 70s, and Richard's over there laughing because he probably got busted for the same thing. She'd say, girls? Oh, we have a group of 12-year-old females coming this evening? Didn't call them girls anymore, that's for sure. And many times she taught me many lessons, and this is a lesson she taught me. She says, remember, Larry, Burt Reynolds never won an Academy Award, but he gets $1 million a movie. And that really inspired me to say, I don't need to win. I just need to be good. That's all. Sometimes we think we need to win. This isn't a contest. I share another story that has stayed with me forever. And if you've read any of my writings, whether it was in my books or whether it was articles, I quote my mother a lot. Because we were at the same meeting, this AEH meeting. And this goes way back, about 74, 75. And I'm sitting in this room, and at that time, Don and David, you might recall, there was always at least 100 people at these meetings. I don't know where they all went, but there was 100 people there. They were all men. There were no women doing it. By the way, the same person that never let me win, first prize that he had for a gift, Diana Barrara had entered the contest, was a man's watch. Remember that, Diana? Man's watch. First prize was a man. Talk about unawareness. And how could you, if you were a woman? But there weren't many women doing hypnosis then. So I was with my mother, and I was looking at all these people in this hypnosis group. And, you know, I go back to reading energies. We need to learn to read energies. I'm good at that now. Again, go back to this book, Kinship with All Life. You'll learn how to read energies. Because animals talk to you. If you have a cat or a dog or a chipmunk or whatever you have, that animal is talking to you. You know, it's amazing. Plants talk to you. Did you know plants talk to you? Don't water them for a couple of days and listen to them screaming as their leaves start wilting. So every living thing needs acknowledgement. We need to acknowledge. So going back to my mother, she picked up my energies. And she leaned over and she whispered and she said, don't compete with these other hypnotists because you'll lose. Just be the best Larry Garrett you can. I've never forgotten those words. I refrain from caring what other hypnotists are doing. If you say to me, I want you to look at my website, Larry, and tell me what you think, I'll look at your website. I would even give you some suggestions if you wish. But I refrain from going on anybody's website. Most of you sitting here, I've never gone on your website. What do I want to go on? Somebody else's website and say, oh, look at what they're doing. I better do this or I won't be successful like them. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Do not. Refrain from, I need to keep using my words well, refrain from attempting to compete with anybody else. There is nobody in this world like you. Am I right, Linda Wolf? Yes. Linda's sitting there in Florida with her palm trees behind her. You know, I have many of Linda's paintings still hanging in the office for years. Hanging there. She's a Mickey Mouse fan and would give me these paintings that she did, Mickey Mouse paintings. And so, you know, as I think about all that history, I think about what I just said. What if you were just the best you could be? Nobody'd be better. I go to another book that I picked up recently. Mary Rothschild, you got this book, didn't you, Mary? Mind Power. Yes. Mind Power. You see that book? Mind Power. Did I show you the most powerful part of that book? The most powerful part of this whole book. You know, I look at Mind Power, and that's I was going to go from that, but I was reminded that I haven't finished it. I want you to see this. Look at what year it was printed. 1912. Got it? 1912. Such a powerful book. When I was going through inpatient treatment for this cancer, I was reading this book, Mental Architecture. I just opened up a chapter, Mental Architecture. I was reading this book, and the head of the oncology department, her name is Tricia. Tricia was always there. Tricia's been good to me, and I like that, because when you think positive, you draw positive people. Tricia says, "What are you reading?" I said, "I'm reading this book, printed in 1912. It's amazing, amazing." And in 1912, this person, his name is William Walker Watkinson. Look him up. He wrote 100 books before he died in 1939. 100 books on a typewriter. Typewriter. My first book was on a typewriter. It took me a couple of years to write a manuscript on self-hypnosis, and I gave somebody the original, and she scribbled all over it. Never wrote another book for many years because of that. I did write books, but I mean later. So I'm going to say about Mind Power. So Tricia says, "Well, what does he say?" I said, "Well, here's a powerful part. He says in here that one day," now hear this, especially if you're into hypnosis. Deborah Andrews, I see you listening to me with intensity. Yes. He said, one day, doctors will teach patients how to talk to their body. Yes. And Tricia said to me, "Well, you might not be a doctor, but isn't that what you do? You teach people how to talk to their bodies." Yes. Never thought of it. And here's a guy in 1912 spoke about the future of people learning how to talk to their body. If I did not talk to my body, and I did not have the support system I had from Sally and Anita and Dr. Funda and others, I would not be talking to you tonight. I had stage 4 cancer in the neck, and I was told it would take a year or two to heal. Year or two. Another book. Bernie Siegel, oncologist from New York, wrote the book Love, Medicine, and Miracles, as well as others. One phrase he spoke in that book that I used for 7 months. Remember, they told me a year to two to heal because of your age, Larry. Hey, screw you. What do you mean my age? I'm only 25 years old. Can't you tell? Look at my energy. Energy. I like the smile I see on some of you. Add a couple of years. And so he said, Bernie Siegel said, don't fight the cancer because you will lose. Learn to know the cancer to be successful in healing. Ooh, I look at that with life. Refrain from fighting that weight gain. You'll lose. Refrain from fighting that habit that you have. You'll lose. Learn to know it. Until you have a stomach ache, you didn't know you had a stomach. Learn to know your stomach. Metaphorically speaking, it will never hurt again. It's an interesting experience I've had having cancer. It's one of the greatest, best things that's ever happened to me. It wasn't for my friends and family. They all thought I was going to die. It's like when I went to Iraq in 2001, and my family, I was visiting with my family the day I was leaving. It was my grandson's birthday, and everybody there, it was like a birthday party, and it looked like I walked into a funeral. Everybody's like sad and down. What's going on? Oh, we don't like it that you're going to Iraq. You'll never come back. You're going to die. You're going to get killed. I don't know where people get these ideas, and that's the way it was about healing. However, if your mind is positive, I know that energies are much stronger than any physical or tactile sensations. When you ask most women, how are you feeling, they will go through a nice dissertation to tell you about their emotional experiences of the day. If you listen, you'll learn a lot. Maybe I'll exclude the men on this screen, but you ask most men, how are you feeling? They say, oh, well, my shoulder's been hurting me lately, and I noticed my back. So they're speaking about tactile feelings. We're on this group today speaking about emotional experiences. And I could assure you, I said earlier we're going to talk about the mind, not the body. I could assure you that your tactile experiences don't have much power. But I'm trying to get back here just in case. I don't want to miss anything today because I notice our time is going and I had a whole bunch of things that I've never looked at. Our emotional experiences run our life. You know, how often do you hear somebody, how was your day today? Not so good. Well, okay, the subconscious mind says, okay. Remember, what you think is what you become. Lie to yourself if you need to. Tell yourself, like Sally, just tell the person what you want, like the cat, and that tail will follow you everywhere you go. So Sally got that house, 40% less than what he wanted from her, and he calls her up 3 days later and says, Sally, do we have our deal? She says, what deal? The deal that we made. That was interesting, right? Sally didn't even know she made the deal. You know how she made the deal? By not saying, well, I can't afford it. Something like that. His words were refraining from saying no. Her words were not saying, sorry, I can't buy it. She just said, well, I had so much in mind. And 3 days later, he said, do we have a deal? So if you're thinking about what you would desire, create it. You know, many of you have been to my office. I love my office. I said to somebody, I wanted to buy a partner's desk a couple of weeks ago. Any of you know a partner's desk? Partner's desks were popular. Do you have partner's desk in Japan, Yoshiko? No. Okay. Partner's desk is a desk that was popular around the turn of the century, around 1900. And it was made for attorneys and accountants. And they would sit in the same office with the same desk, and they would have openings on both sides, drawers on both sides, usually a leather top. And if you look them up, they run anywhere beginning at $10,000 up to $102,000. I just did this about 2 weeks ago, so I'm speaking with recent knowledge. I've been creating in my mind a partner's desk for over 25 years. No, about 20 years. I was visiting my mother who lived in Arkansas, and there was this partner's desk at this antique store, beautiful green leather, drawers on both sides. And I always remember my friend Frank, who was a very successful businessman. He'd say to me, yeah, that'd be a great desk to have. And then you could say to your client who's sitting on the other side of the desk, go in the third drawer and there's a book for you. And the client pulls out the book on the power of the mind or whatever book you might have put in there. I see David's business mind is intact right now, right, David? Wouldn't that be a great one, right? Go in the second drawer, there's something, and we're talking about this. And they have the book. So 2 weeks ago, Anita calls me up and says, you're always looking for a partner's desk. There's one for sale at Divine Consign. So Sally gets all excited and she starts figuring out how we're going to put it in here and how we're going to move the old desk out. By the way, the old desk is pretty desk also. It's made in Italy. And it's all in inlaid wood and it's beautiful. But the partner's desk, ooh, this particular partner's desk made by Thomas Alexander Furnishings. I'm sharing the story for a conclusion. I created the partner's desk. If you've ever read Wayne Dyer's book on manifesting, he says, make sure you have details of what you're creating. So we look up the partner's desk. It's beautiful. $1,300 for a $10,000 desk. Any deals there? How many of you could use a partner's desk? Well, I'm going to run out and get that. So I call on the phone. I says, will you take a deposit? No, but you could buy it, and if you don't like it in 3 days, we'll give you your money back. Okay, take my credit cards. So I bought this partner's desk. I've been wanting it for 20 years. I didn't tell you about that one. So I'm in Arkansas with my mother at an antique store. And I said, oh, I like this desk. I call her up back when I get back in Chicago. I said, pay for that desk for me. We go back there a month later and with my younger son, Craig, and we go in there and I said to the woman in the antique store, where's the partner's desk? She said, oh, well, I sold that. I said to my mother, I told you to buy it. Well, I thought you were just kidding. No. I was so disappointed. Like my grandmother, my body went, ugh. So 20 years I've been looking for a partner's desk. I really have. Because they're not easy to find in antiques. I didn't know they made them do. $1,300 for $10,000 desk? Great. So I find a partner's desk. I look at the measurements. I think it was 85 inches wide, 48 inches deep. And there's drawers on both sides, all of them with keys. Elegant. Leather top and 3 sections of leather. I don't know what size rooms any of you have. I bet you Yoshiko's got a big place. One day I'll visit Japan, I'll see her office. It's this elegant office the size of my building. And can you imagine a desk 85 inches? That's 7 feet long and 4 feet wide. It's like a sheet of plywood. Can you picture a sheet of plywood? So I thought, well, it won't fit in my office. Sally said, well, we could do this, we put the side chair next to the desk and you could not squeeze past it. Well, maybe we could put it sideways. Sally wants me to have this desk. So then we're talking about this, excuse me, just dropped something here. We're talking about this desk. So well, maybe in my bedroom. Well, some of you know I live in a house that's over 100 years old. Bedrooms 100 years ago were small. Maybe in my living room, I can move all my plants out of here and put it here. I'm still talking about a monster. So I got what I wanted. I got a partner's desk after 20 years of creating it, manifesting it, and trusting I was going to get it. Didn't fit. So the story is, don't chase your tail. Create what you want. Design it the way you want. It'll come to you. Be patient. Anything is yours. We have, how much time? We have 15 minutes. And I know Don wants to say something before. Go ahead, Deborah. You got it. Sorry.
Okay, thanks. Actually, I wanted to address your friend Yoshiko and say konnichiwa. And is there hypnosis in Japan? Is it widespread? And there's a reason why I'm asking.
Oh, no. It's not really popular, actually. But one time when I was 42, I got hypnotized. And then I thought it was a great experience. And someday I really wanted to learn. So there's only one school in Tokyo. And I learned there.
So you are a hypnotist?
So she's a hypnotist also.
And you are a hypnotist.
Yes.
Okay, so I practice Eastern Shoshu Buddhism. And so when I first was introduced, they told me, oh, you could chant for whatever you want and you're going to manifest it. And I was so desperate at that time because I had an entire body filled with psoriasis. And I've tried everything on this planet to try to make it go away. But someone told me, a very honored senior member, oh, you can chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, and you can have whatever you want. So I wasn't even involved in hypnosis anywhere near that, but I believed so strongly that that would happen that I did manifest that, Larry. I chatted with such conviction.
But you also believed it.
And that's it. And it wasn't necessarily the Buddhism as much as I believed that I could heal myself. And it took me a few years, but I had so much belief. And I also like the philosophy. And so I was able to heal myself. So it's the first time we've seen a Japanese guest here. So I just wondered if there was much hypnosis in Japan.
You know, and I have to welcome Yoshiko as well, because I have felt a little uncomfortable that some of our meetings are 1 o'clock in the afternoon, like our Sunday meeting. And, you know, and again, it's 3 o'clock in the morning or something. Wasn't it something like that, Yoshiko? Yeah.
Yes.
So this one was perfect for her to be here today. And in fact, weren't you at the NGH conference? Isn't that how we met?
Yes, that's how we met. I took your course.
Right.
And I got so excited because, you know, I've learned all these things in Japanese and then you're speaking in English. And then I was just trying to connect them. And it was a great experience. And your explanation was so clear. And I really fell in love with you.
Oh, thank you, Shika. Thank you so much. And, you know, it's interesting because then she said to me, She said, I'm going to look on Amazon for your book. And I says, I'll send you one. She says, if you send me one and you write in it, she says, I will send you a care package from Japan. So I'm waiting for that new Rolls Royce to arrive. So thank you, Ishiko. But I'm glad you're here. And you know, we do have a conference coming up this weekend, and I will lead into that because I have so much more to share. But allow me to share a conclusion of this. As you listen to me right now, I'm speaking to you, whoever you are, wherever you are, I'm with you. I wish for you to feel, not think. Thinking's not very powerful. Feel the word trust inside of you. Feel it. Trust in your parents. Trust in your dog. Trust in your partner or spouse. Trust somebody. Feel that trust. Now, when you feel that trust inside of you, if you close your eyes, it's okay. If you sit there and hear me, it's okay. I wish only that you feel trust. And when you feel trust, hold on to that feeling for a moment, memorize it. Just like memorizing a chord on your musical instrument. Memorize that energy. The energy, that's it. Memorize the energy. Now that you've memorized the energies of trust, what could you do with that? What could you do with that? When I was in Iraq, I recall Uday Hussein, one of the most hated men in the world. Despised, hated by all. We spent about 60 hours together. You spend 60 hours with me and things change a little. And he said to me one day, he used to call me Mr. Larry. Mr. Larry, how come you're not scared to be here with me? And without hesitation, I said, well, you know, and I talk like this, well, you invited me to your house. Somebody invites me to their house, why should I be scared? If I invited you to my house, would you be scared of me? And he laughed. He said, well, everybody else is scared of me. But you invited me to your house, so why would I be scared of you? And that's the conviction I had when I went to Iraq in 2001. You know, I was there September 11th, 2001. That was powerful. So I'm going to go back to what Don Hood said. Do I think that the energies I have draw to me the energies that I'm drawing this evening with you? Yes. The energy that I live my life by, is trust. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die. When I was going through cancer treatments, I would say to the nurse, what are you doing now? And what does that chemo mean? And how does it work? And I would go through these questions because I wanted to learn to know the cancer and not fight it. And it didn't create as much fear. I remember I said to Anita Barton, I said, when I was through with outpatient treatment, they said to me, okay, well, you're going to have to go to hospitalization now, either 5 weeks or 7 weeks. We'll let you know after we measure the cancer. I was so excited. I wanted 5 weeks. I didn't really want to hang around a hospital for 7, but I was so excited. And I remember saying to Anita, why do you think I'm so excited? She says, well, that's because you've been practicing it for 50 years. You're right. You're right. I just live trust. I share another fast story. Mary Rothschild, great friend of mine for many, many years. I love Mary because Mary is like an angel. Isn't she, Sally? Like an angel, she glides through life. You never see Mary angry. Her husband, John, might see her angry once in a while, but we don't see her angry. And a couple of weeks ago, I was telling her, the University of Chicago Hospital, what all of us as hypnotists have wanted in this country for many years is to have the medical society recognize us. Well, they've created this recognition through me going through cancer. Because you know me, I don't shut up. I don't know, we don't have my oncology nurse on right now. But the real issue is I have made connections and friendships with many, especially my friend Tricia. Tricia is the head of oncology. And what Tricia says is what Tricia gets. She's in control. And so recently, I was asked to be on a panel of 5 physicians and a mediator to discuss the building of a new hospital for cancer patients with them questioning me, excuse that ego, but questioning me, what do I think would be beneficial for this new hospital for the patients to heal faster? Now, don't tell me that the medical profession is not listening to us right now of the hypnosis we go through. Yoshiko, I suppose in Japan you get the Guild's journal each month?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
okay. So that journal that we've been getting, I've been writing chapters in each issue about this process I had gone through with cancer and healing. And I've been giving it to the medical staff every time I go over to university. And I go there at least once or twice a week. They want to do a PET scan, a CT scan. They want to check me out, you know, and hey, look at my energies. I'm here, I'm flying, I'm healthy, I'm well. And they want to figure out, why does this guy heal so fast? It's like Sally got her house. It's like Anita having 51, or Klein coming in 51 times. So I remember we were, Mary Rothschild and I were talking about it, and because Mary's been a nurse for many years, huh, Mary? Many years. She's getting ready to leave that place soon. Great hypnotist, great nurse, and my feelings are, I needed to ask, but then Mary said, well, you'll know what to say. Is that what they said, Mary? You'll know what to say. And I did. I just winged it. And after I was finished winging it, a couple of the physicians had some serious questions. And I was enlightened by their questions. Mary, were you going to say something? I saw your yellow light come on. You know, yellow light means somebody's going to talk. No? Okay. I thought you, okay. So I just say that because I want for you to know how powerful this is becoming if you could trust yourself. Look at Dr. Christine Clark. Sally, you remember Christine, don't you, before she was a doctor?
Yes, yes, I do.
That little cutie come in all the time, and she did her board exams using hypnosis and did well, and here we are, we're still friends. Now she's a prominent psychiatrist in California, and we stay friends. I see Christine's there, but she's not saying much. Maybe we'll get her on. But she wants to take our hypnosis classes coming up in December. I'm excited to hear that. So I go back to before we're out of time. And if we run out of time, Don, don't cut us off blank right real fast. You know me, I usually run over, don't I, David? Sorry about that. I get long-winded. The hypnosis meeting, the conference is this Friday, starts this Friday. And I looked over some of the presentations, some great presentations. If you got the link for this, you got the link for the conference. And I'd suggest you get into it. Like I think about Vanessa sitting there being hypnosis a year. Vanessa, when I went to my first hypnosis conference, you know what I learned? Everything I didn't know. Everything I didn't know. Such a grand experience. Yoshiko, is that right? You did the NGH conference recently. You just said a good wording. Yes, and look at, we connected. And we're going further with it, yes. And Vanessa, isn't that how we learned in the NGH conference?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
We learned so much.
Yeah. So, you know, the cost might seem prohibitive, but you know what? If you go see a hypnotist on a private level, it's going to cost you that much or less or more. And some hypnotists charge $100, some charge $300, who knows, it doesn't matter. But it's $199 for the whole weekend. And I think I can't recall who it was. It might have been Margie Major. Somebody said to me, but I can't be there the whole weekend. You don't need to be. Like tonight's meeting, it's being recorded. So if somebody missed it, you could watch it later, right, Don?
Right.
Yes.
That's correct.
So I'll conclude with this and say, please join us at the conference this weekend, please. And I don't know what I'm going to speak on. Probably the same thing I said now. I remember a few years ago, somebody says, Larry's topics are always different, but the message is always the same, whatever the words were. That means I always say the same thing. But isn't that the way we learn, through rote? When we always do what we've always done, we always get what we always got. So Saturday, I'm opening the conference as a keynote speaker. What an honor. Ooh, you know, Burt Reynolds never won a prize. I won a prize. I'm the keynote speaker. I hear that Carm had something to do with that. We've been friends for many years, and but I'm honored. And the topic is, hear my topic and try and figure out what it means. Wisdom is enlightenment without, no, excuse me, enlightenment, I almost got it backwards, asked backwards. Enlightenment is wisdom without judgment. Hear that connection? Hear that connection? Enlightenment is wisdom without judgment. Now, I might not be enlightened, but in the next 20 years or so, maybe longer, if I don't live to be 100, you could call me a liar, but I plan on living to be 100, healthy. I want to be as vibrant as I am now. You know, in February, I'll be 80 years old. I feel like I'm 45 or 50. Whoa, what is that about? Like Jerry said recently, and the comment came up, most people who are hypnotists look younger than they are. You look at some of these people, look at Fern, look at Mary Rothschild, look at Sally, look at some of these people who've been in hypnosis many years, and they look younger. There's a vibrant energy to feeling good. If you wish to age slower, hear it well. There's nothing I cannot do in this moment at 80 years old that I couldn't do at 40. Today, boy, excuse me, Don, for running over, but I wanted to share this one and I forgot until now. Today, we put a new couch in the office, in the reception area. You ever pick up a couch? So today, I have dizzy moments. Sometimes I wake up and I'm kind of dizzy. But if I kind of take care of it, Dinah might remember because she was there. We're bringing the couch in, Mike and I. And Mike's always caring for me. He says, "You sure you're okay?" "Yeah, Mike, it's all right here." Now realize we moved the couch from Funda's house to the office, took the couch out, which is real heavy, out of the office, brought the new couch in, and plus we had to carry this 100-pound antique scale of Funda's. And Mike says, "Are you okay?" It's all right here, Mike. And I kid you not, with that statement, I lifted the couch up and we carried it in the office. So it doesn't matter how old you are, how weak you feel, how incapable you are physical, what's up here? If you can see it, you can do it. I saw that couch being lifted and carried into the room. And when you come to the office next time, lift up this couch we brought in there. Heavy metal bars underneath, goes into a bed kind of couch, And it was not heavy. There's a great song from the years past. He's not heavy, he's my brother. Isn't that a message? Wow, is that a message? Yes. I see Carla over there shaking her head. That's right. That's a message. None of you are heavy. You're my brothers and sisters. And I love you people. Excuse me a word, I shouldn't use that, people. I love you, period. It doesn't have to be people. It's not a people. There's a great, I can't stop. There was a great narrator and the TV celebrity many years ago. Most of you don't remember. Arthur Godfrey. And do you remember Arthur Godfrey, David? Yeah, some of you do. Some of you shaking their heads. Arthur Godfrey was being interviewed, and I learned this lesson from him. If Karen Han was here, Karen Han's been a radio personality for many years. I don't see her, but she'll tell you when she's at the meeting this weekend. Arthur Godfrey was a very famous person. He was being interviewed, and the narrator, the interviewer says, "Why are you so famous?" He says, when I was in the war, I was a radio operator. And to get out of the front line, if I would be on the radio, I wouldn't have to go to the front line. That means he wouldn't have to shoot anybody. That's where I would have been, in the front, away from the front line. I couldn't shoot. I can't kill an ant. And he says, so I listened to all the radio personalities, and they were all making the same mistake. He'd say, "Good evening to my listening audience." He says, there was no audience out there. There was only one person listening to you. When you listen to the radio and you're with somebody, you're not listening to the radio. It's like Kate's story earlier with the piano. The TV was distracting the people from the train. So when you are listening to the radio, there's only one person. And when I'm speaking to you, I wish to speak to only one person, you. And I hope my message tonight will elevate your life another notch. I hope that I see you this weekend to learn how to be enlightened with wisdom and without judgment. And I wish you well, and I wish you much love. And Don, you could take over. Thank you so much for listening to me for 2 hours and a half.
Larry, thank you so much for your wisdom and your humor, and most importantly, your love.
Thank
And
you.
that's what brings us all together. Is this is, yes, we're all colleagues. Yes, we don't know each other as well as some, but because of people like you and others, we're all family. This is a family of that good, loving energy that helps us do what we do as professionals and what we do in life. And I like one of the things you said at the beginning. You said about I wrote it down, about taking a risk of feeling good,
Mhm.
and that's what you talk about. You talk about embracing life and celebrating life in every talk you give. So yes, you say the same thing, but you bring it uniquely every time you speak. And we are blessed that you have come to us tonight to speak to all of us, and bringing also, like the Pied Piper, bringing everybody to be with us tonight. Which I want to pop this in here just briefly. If anybody who's not on the second Tuesday Hypnosis Group mailing list, if they email to me, donaldhood@gmail.com, and just put the second Tuesday mailing list in the subject heading, I will make sure that you're on the list so you can get all of our emails. I send a few, each month to remind us that we are the second Tuesday hypnosis group, 8 o'clock on every Tuesday. And we've got this great conference coming up. So be sure you sign up for that, because you'll see Larry again. That
Yeah.
should be enough right there.
Thank you. Allow me to make a couple of comments too, Don. Sorry about this, but I'm not sorry about it. Like Diana Barrara said, sorry.
Don't, everything's good from you, Larry.
Thank you. And that is two thoughts that I'm having. One is I send the words back to you. I'm blessed to be here tonight. My greatest love and gift is sharing. I used to stutter until I was about 31 years old, and I would have difficulty getting certain words out, especially if they started with S. They would be like, sit down. And today I can't stop talking. And maybe it's because I didn't talk before. People would say, "Oh, Diana Barrara remembers. Oh, Larry's shy." He'd have his shirts buttoned up to the top of his neck and wear these leisure suits, and I'd always be shy. But I wasn't shy. I just was embarrassed to talk. So I'm blessed to be here to share with you. Secondly, I think this in conclusion, do you think, Don or David, whoever's running this show, that maybe we have some comments from these people? And of course, most of you know how to reach me. And if you don't, just go to larrygarrett.com. But Don or David, do you want to open it to anybody before we leave?
That would be fine. If you want to unmute and say a comment about tonight, that would be fine. We have all the time in the world.
Yeah, I saw Diana's hand up. If anybody, Diana, did you have a comment or thought?
I just wanted to tell you that you are loved.
Thank you, Diana. Diana's such a punch.
Larry, can I share just one little thing that really touched my heart tonight?
Please, I want to
That song, He's Not Heavy, He's My Brother.
Right.
My brother died in 1971, tragically, and that song was a hit.
Wow.
And I wanted to be a pallbearer to my brother's funeral. I was 16, and somebody said, "Oh, you can't carry your brother. He's too heavy." And I said to that person, "He's not heavy. He's my brother."
Oh.
And I've always loved that song, and every time I hear it, I think of my brother. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
I love you.
I got tears of joy. I love you. Thank you so much. And that's a great story, Deborah. We have such a connection that we don't know. It's like we lived in the same neighborhood, same way with Sally, and many years later we reconnect. How do we know that? Excuse me, Diana, you had some thoughts.
I just wanted to tell you that you are loved.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Diana showed me a birthday card that I gave her in 1993. I had to read it and have tears in my eyes that I said these words. I also want to share with you, if you don't journal, I don't journal as much as I did. I do attempt to record my dreams orally. But my very first journal, I was telling Mike this today, my very first journal was, why does Diana Barrara get me to do everything I don't want to do? She laughs. But I remember we used to video record, and video recording in the 70s were long cables and big cameras, and things like that, and tripods that were like antenna towers. I mean, it was really a big project to videotape in the 70s. And
Real skill.
real skill. And we'd be all finished and we had cables to wrap up and things like that. And Diana used to, I have to commend her though, I would do hypnosis shows and she'd come there with all this equipment and record the show for me. And I do have some shows from the 70s because of that. But I remember the first journal entry, we were all through recording at the office. And Diana says, okay, I'm going home now. And these cables are all over and lights all over. She's going home. I've got to clean up this mess, and she's going home. But I've loved her ever since. Okay. I guess we don't have any other questions. I don't see any hands up. This was fun. This was fun. And remember that.
I got a request on the chat that we need my email again for the mailing list. It's
Oh, yeah.
Donald Hood. It's my name, Donald Hood @gmail.com.
There's a whole bunch of chats there. I wonder if any of them were important and we missed them along the way.
They're all important. They're saying thank you so much, basically.
Yeah, thank you.
They're thanking you for sharing your love and light.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Again, I thank you. I thank you for being able to hear a message that maybe was in some way beneficial to your needs. And that's my gift. My gift is seeing you like watching Sally. Sally gets us home because she created it on a blank check, because she wrote down the address, because she desired it, and she saved 40%. Who saves 40% on buying a home? Anybody out there? As I walk.
I did buy one without getting married.
That was good. That was good. You're right. You're right. You got a good deal too. I know. I was, my greatest manifestation is walking down Kimball Avenue. As most of you know, my house is a block away from my office. Mary Rothschild always used to say to me, boy, you really know how to work it well. I'm a block away from my office. And every time this building that our office is in was empty for 5 years, was an old neighborhood bar called O'Henry's. And of course, some of you like Yoshika and a few others, and Vanessa, you've never been here or seen it, but you look on the website, you'll see a picture. It's a triangle-shaped building, which in itself is unique. It's the only triangle-shaped building here in this area. Well, then there's a couple blocks away. And every time I'd walk by this empty building, I would fantasize that would make a nice wellness center. And about 2 years later, this woman standing across the street doing some gardening or digging in the dirt, and she says, Mister, come here. I cross the street and I go over by her and she says, she's from Poland with a heavy accent. She says, you want to buy my building? Yeah, how did you know? I recently saw Danuta was on, she's gone now, but Danuta was on her message here. So Danuta translated for me, but that's how magic works. Magic works that you create it in your mind, like Sally did, like I did, like many of you have. Just create it. Just feel it. Don't refrain from chasing your tail. If you're ill, create wellness. If you're broke, create prosperity. Not money, prosperity. Prosperity is different than money. If you have prosperity, you probably have money. I tell people, I have a lot of prosperity, a lot of bricks, a lot of love, a lot of gifts. So I'm saying to you, wherever you are at right now, I think about Ohm. I see Ohm's light, your mute is off, Ohm. Were you going to say something?
Oh, earlier I didn't mean to right now. I was going to agree with you earlier when you were talking about being able to lift things. You just picture it and then do it. And
Yes.
I do that all the time.
I
It's,
know you do. I know. I know. You know, I know that with your pickup truck, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
manifested a truck.
Yeah.
Visualized
Did you have a
it.
lot? Did you have a lot of money when you got that truck?
No, I had to come up with the money to register that truck, and somebody gave me the truck.
See, and that's how it happens, isn't it? That's how it
Yeah,
happens.
I learned a lot about manifesting from that, and
Yes.
I was having an argument with a friend of mine the other day, and I said something about how he believes all these things for his life. Um, and I realized as I'm saying this that his life works exactly how he believes that it will, but my life operates completely differently than his, and I believe that his belief structure is faulty, but his life operates exactly like he believes that it will.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you don't like the way your life is operating,
Yes.
change your belief structure.
Sure. I think Michael Watson and the conference this weekend has I think it was him that has a program on belief systems and how they work. I agree. And your friend, you says he does what he believes and you do what you believe. I don't know him. He believes it won't work and he's right. You believe it'll work and it's right. I believe whatever you think about is what's going to happen.
That's a proof that that manifestation works right there.
Both ways.
One way or the other. It's what you put out. I want to share with you that one of our family who's here tonight made a note that she did. She wrote down 8 pages of notes. So you must have said a number of things that were worthwhile for all of us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Don. And the only reason Renee said that is because I compliment her on her brownies. Renee, I'm honored. Thank you. 8 pages of
Yes.
notes. Well, at
8 pages.
least somebody was listening to me, Renee. I believe you. You know, Renee, how many times have you heard me say the same thing? Renee invited me to her woman's. Go ahead, Renee, please.
Yeah, I have heard you say some of the same things, but sometimes I maybe wasn't ready to hear them. And so every time I feel like I get more and more ready to hear the things that I need to hear. And I always say, I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And every day I learn more of what I didn't know. And sometimes people will say something and I'll go, I never knew that. I mean, it's like, but I feel like my mind, my eyes, my ears, I was closed for a big portion of my life. And I think in the last 12 years, I've just like soaked in so much great information. And you are one of the people that I've soaked in a lot. I mean, I have a folder, Larry, from all the things that you have talked about. And it's got your name on it and all the notes that I've taken at the different things that I've heard you speak.
I'm honored, and I'm gonna cry in a
The
moment.
Larry Garrett folder.
Yeah, Larry Garrett folder.
And we need to hear those things again and again to reinforce what we know to be true.
Right.
Interesting. I had something profound to say, but Renee got me. You know, not often that I could blush or back off a little bit, but you know, Wayne Dyer used to have a great phrase, and he used to say, "I don't need that applause, but I love it." So thank you, Renee, and
You're welcome.
yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. This has been a wonderful evening, and we probably could keep on going till midnight or later, but I think we need to save some for the conference. So come to the conference and listen to Larry speak again. There's a number of us in this group who are going to be speaking at the conference. It'll be great. 3 days of wonderful sharing and just the connections again. And we meet every second Tuesday of the month too. So send me an email if you're not already on the list. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, always at the Leaning Tower.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Don. Thank you. We appreciate you and putting this wonderful meeting together. Thanks.
Thanks for inviting me.
We love you too.
Bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Good night.